It's time now to get ready for yet another Arizona Coyotes home match as they host the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're going to talk about this game. Can the Arizona Coyotes topple down one of the best? We're going to answer that question on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast.
Your Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome everyone to today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more with FanDuel. I'm Robyn Leano. That's Carl Pavlik on Locked On Coyotes. We've got a great show. It is preview time, Carl. Coyotes versus Lightning tonight at 7 p.m. right here in Arizona at the Mullet Arena. First time the Lightning going to visit the Mullet, and let's put it this way. Well, the Coyotes, since our Mullet Arena episode of talking whether or not to type place, have faltered down, but are better, much better at home than they are on the road.
Sure. Which is interesting because the Coyotes had a pretty successful road trip. So if they can carry that momentum over, that'd be great. It should be said that the Chicago Blackhawks, the Seattle or the St. Louis Blues, and the Nashville Predators are not the Tampa Bay Lightning.
No.
Together, they could Voltron into the Tampa Bay Lightning, maybe. But yeah, this is going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one, especially with just the pure talent that Tampa Bay has.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can go ahead and probably just name five players right at the top of your head of who's to watch out for Tampa. It's just that dangerous.
Yeah. And they've lost a couple of pieces from when they had back-to-back Stanley Cups, but they're still an incredibly skilled team.
100%. So we'll see how the Coyotes can hold it together. We're still in this other question mark of, what's the Coyotes defense going to look like with Chychrun still held out.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't been following, he's going to continue to be scratched until something happens.
Sure.
The question is, when will that something happen? But yeah, this game might be ugly.
Yeah. I mean, Chychrun's out. I don't know if you saw, but Shane Gostisbehere has started skating again. He is not going to be playing today, but maybe coming up soon. And that really kind of leaves the Coyotes, who already didn't have the best defense, just playing really, really short. But, times like that, you just got to simplify your game, especially if you're a defenseman. Like, maybe not try so much offense. Maybe just kind of like hang back, be a little bit more conservative, kind of see how it goes. It remains to be seen whether or not that's a good strategy against the Lightning, though.
I mean, that's kind of a job that you want to kind of expect out of your center, right?
Yeah.
The center is, yes, he is a forward, but can they, jump back quickly and, help in case the defense collapses?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's kind of going to be the job for everyone. Like, just
100%.
make sure that you're not, like, especially after the last game that the Coyotes and the Lightning played earlier this season. Like, you can maybe expect a repeat of that, especially because the Coyotes started by going up 2-0 and then just fell behind and saw their opponent take over.
Absolutely. It's, I still think regardless, we're probably going to expect a fun game. Because Is that the mullet?
Sure.
And I think I'm not sure, but like I'm trying to think back. Have we had any like boring games at the mullet? We've had bad games for the Coyotes' sake, but like any like boring games at the
Not
mullet.
not especially, no. And just the way that the Coyotes have played all season, where you know, they don't give up. The third period comebacks that we see the Coyotes showcase, they are always very fun to watch.
They're
So
the
yeah,
cardiac Coyotes for a reason.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of failed comeback attempts, but they try, and that trying makes it a little bit more interesting.
And it goes back to what we've been talking about, over the course of this entire season, that this Coyotes team is just a lot more competitive in games, despite still being a bad team.
Yeah, I mean they're more used to the system. They have some good players like Schmaltz, Keller. They're having great seasons. Lawson Krause, who we talked about on yesterday's episode, having a really good season. They're getting some good goaltending from Vemelka, and even Ingram has proven to like be a more stabilizing force. So there's a lot that's going on. Just like overall, like when you look at the Lightning versus the Coyotes, it is kind of night and day. The Coyotes have one player, Keller, with 50 points. The Lightning have three players with over 50 points. So just kind of shows the different skills that we're looking at here.
Plus, if you go ahead and, it's weird to put, talent and talent across teams on this scale, compared to one another. But we're gonna do it anyways. We put Clayton Keller right next to Braden Point. Like, is that like, yeah, I love Keller and he's great. But Braden Point has been phenomenal.
Yeah. And I mean, you could say the same about like, hey, why don't you put uh you know, Hayton next to Stamkos? I think Hayton is developing into a fine player. He's not a Stamkos level. He probably will not be at a Stamkos level. I don't think that is his destiny. But the Coyotes are a growing team, so it is not really fair to anyone to compare them to back-to-back Stanley Cup winners from
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue to preview this game. Arizona Coyotes versus Tampa Bay Lightning at the Mullet Arena, 7 p.m. tonight. So very, very shortly from now, we are going to get to our keys to the game, our players to watch out for, as well as our FanDuel picks of the game, all in a little bit. But first, I want to, just take a step back and hear from our sponsors. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained, and everything in between. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet on up to $1,000 back in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So let's continue this episode of Locked On Coyotes as we discuss Arizona versus Tampa Bay. Carl, let's start off with players to watch out for. We kind of mentioned some players in that, in that first segment. Kind of when we were saying, nah, not fair to compare players. But
Sure.
let's go ahead and talk about players to watch out for on both sides, because we're at this point in which we know who the who the difference makers are for the Arizona Coyotes on certain games, and there are players who have been a lot more consistent on being those difference makers. So who do you got?
Uh, One player that I think that we don't necessarily talk about as much, Matthias Michelli. I think he definitely has a chance of having a big impact. He had primary assists on both Kraus goals against the Predators, and has 3 assists in his last 4 games.
Just absolutely love to hear Michelli's name back again because ever since coming back from his injury, it's just like, you wonder what kind of an impact a player is going to do when coming back from an injury,
Yeah.
right? And especially on a player that young, sometimes it's like, oh, you might take a few steps, but he kind of came back in and stepped into a decent role almost immediately back after having more than a month off.
Yeah, he is really good. He is definitely one of the quieter players that we've seen. Gets most of his points as assists. He's really gelling well with Lawson Krause. I would like to see him, in the next couple of years, take a more prominent role, maybe get those goal numbers up. But for right now, he's doing solid, especially like you said, after returning from an injury.
Yeah. Another thing I want to I pay attention to is just see what kind of other role some of these other players are going to be. Look at like Nick Bustag, for example, because is very much been a difference maker for the Arizona Coyotes, and also has been a name that's been churned up as a potential, trade asset for the Coyotes because of that, because of how well he's been playing.
Yeah.
And I think,
And his contract, which is less than $1 million,
yeah,
that is definitely making it easier for him to be bandied about. Yeah, Bukestad's having a great season, and just his 5-on-5 play is next level.
he's been phenomenal. And I'm kind of curious to see, like, if he keeps playing as well as he does, what kind of value the Coyotes are going to get back from it. Because we know the Coyotes are going to be selling a lot. We talked about Chychrun, but and a little bit of got spare earlier, but like, Bukestad, we mentioned his name a little bit, but really, we were just like, okay, we haven't really thought too much about what kind of value he's going to get back. That's going to be for another show, but it's really going to be interesting.
Yeah, I do also think there is value in retaining Bukestad and extending him, just because you need veteran guys around. He seems to have found like a good scenario, a good system that works for him. Uh, the Coyotes are going to need to start turning things around sooner or later. So maybe he is worth more to the team now than he is for like a pick. But yeah, as you said, we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, absolutely. How about on the Tampa Bay side? Who you watching out for?
I mean, he's not really the same kind of level of a Bugstad or a Michelli, but Kucherov is a player that I don't think anyone should ever take their eyes off of. Started the comeback for the Lightning last night against the Avalanche with his 21st of the season. I think he comes into today's game with a ridiculous point streak. It is 11 games. He has had a point in all of his last 11 games. That is just insane.
Oh, absolutely. I'm trying to bring. Yeah, what is he at right now? 78 points right now.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Which, I mean, like, there are a lot of big names with the Lightning. I wouldn't necessarily think that he would be the one, you know, out in
I
front.
mean, the top, like, as you mentioned, 3 players from the Lightning are over 50 points, and like if you are anyone who follows the NHL pretty closely, just knows those three as Kucherov, Point, and Stamkos. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's surprised that those are the three. And if you thought that one of them was going to be like, you know, anybody else, like, then good on you for knowing those players, but also like, have you been following closely enough?
Yeah. And Kucherov is definitely a good one. I don't, know if he necessarily has the same name recognition for the casual fan as like a Stamkos or even a Point, but you
Hmm.
definitely should know his name. Back-to-back 100-point seasons a couple of years ago, and he is on pace for another one this year.
Yeah, and he was also the one that wouldn't take crap from any of the reporters when asking about the Lightning not winning real championships because the shortened years. But
I do not remember that, but good on him. That is definitely not like a question you should be asking an athlete. What's wrong with you?
I love it though. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I was gonna mention though Braden Point just because if you look at age wise and talent wise, like he is like we're gonna see this kid for a long time.
Yeah, the Lightning are a stacked team, like we said. And Point is no slouch either. He just doesn't have that 11 game point streak. Like he was held pointless against the Dallas Stars. What a loser! I'm joking, of course.
One thing I do want to mention out one of the players that does currently play for Tampa Bay. Coyotes fans will know him on in a more maybe negative way, but Corey Perry.
Ah, I forgot Perry was with the Lightning. I believe I remember like when the Coyotes played. I was like, oh, that's where Corey Perry is, and then like, nope, just instantly forgot.
Yeah, he's the kind of player that is like he's forgettable until he does something that's gonna take you off.
Yeah, he's one of those kind of players. Like I said, the Lightning played Vasilevsky last night, so I'm kind of curious to see who they start. I do want to point this out though. Brian Elliott has a 3.14 goals against average.
That could make a
Just,
difference.
I mean, it's a nice pie goals against.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Anyways, though, keys to the game.
Keys to the game, just kind of don't let the Lightning come back if you get an early lead. That'd be a key. Definitely avoid penalties. You do not want to give the Tampa Bay Lightning any kind of power play. That's just dumb. And I would say just go all out. They have 2 days off before they head out on the road. Might as well just empty the tank tonight.
Do it. Yeah, give it your 100% all. I mean, you should be doing it most of the games, anyways. And you know, it's the best. The best kind of term I'm looking for. Yeah, but keep your keep having their foot kept on the gas the from the first puck drop to the end of the horn. Like,
I mean, on the road, they played 3 games in 4 days. So you got to imagine there's some level of like kind of like energy preservation there. But you're going to be going home to your own bed. You're going to be eating your own food. Like you could just give it 110. Like leave nothing to chance, especially against a team like the Lightning. You want to go down
feed
fighting against a big one.
feed off the energy from the mullet. We know how loud it gets in there, so feed off of it as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Anyways, we're gonna get to our FanDuel picks of the game in just a minute, but first we're gonna take a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Are you looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you gotta try a Built Bar. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And if you're in Arizona right now, that is less of an issue. It's been really cold lately. I know when I've gotten my summer Built Bars, like to keep them in the fridge, don't even need to worry about that now. It's just cold enough as is. And I'm not sure how Built Bar does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is they're healthy with 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been telling you that you can order Built Bars on Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right, you can head to your nearest Walmart today. For me, just a couple of blocks up, you could walk up to the pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You could pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs.
So let's now get to our FanDuel picks of the game, Carl. Arizona Coyotes enter into tonight's game as 1.5 underdogs at minus
No surprise
122.
there.
No surprise. With plus 202 on the money line, minus 250 if you decide to bet on the Lightning. Total points set to 6.5.
6.5. Last time these two teams met, it was a 5-3 Lightning win. I kind of picture it being about the same. Let's make it a little bit more offense. Let's go with 6-4 Lightning.
6-4 Lightning. That is a really good score. I would also go probably around the same. Let this one go over. I think a lot of these signs are telling us to go over, especially if when you mentioned the goals against average of Brian Elliott. Should he be starting in net tonight?
The fact that Tampa Bay played last night potentially gives the Coyotes some opportunity. And Arizona's offense,
still Tampa Bay, so Tampa Bay is going to be scoring a lot because that offense is just absolutely brutal.
Yeah. These are two teams where, normally I'm not going to say the Coyotes have great offense, but they've had respectable offense lately. So maybe that trend continues, especially at home. But you just can't count out Tampa Bay.
So both of us are saying take the over. Now here's a question for you: are you just going to go straight money line for the Tampa Bay Lightning, or are you going to take the spread for the Lightning and give them and just do that and just pretty confident they're going to take those points?
I don't know. I'm predicting 6-4, but the Coyotes do have a tendency to make things interesting. They have a chance of pushing games into overtime, as we saw in 2 of their matchups on the road. So I'm not sure. I think I would just go with the over. I would avoid anything else.
So you're just betting the over.
Yeah, I'm betting goals are scored. Who scores those goals? I'm not sure.
I will take the over, but I'm also going to say bet on the money line. It's minus 250 for Tampa Bay, so it's not going to make you a whole lot if you decide to bet on it. But I think it's a safe bet that you could probably make.
Is there an option to bet on who has a goal? Because I would definitely say put some money on Keller or Schmaltz.
So there is an anytime goal scorer option. Yes, right here on FanDuel. I'm looking at it. Clayton Keller has a plus 186 on anytime goal scorer. Schmaltz plus 198. If you bet on any of the top 3 Lightning players, Point is plus 114, Stamkos is plus 128, and Kucherov is plus 136.
What about Krause or Bukestad?
Krause is plus 225, and Bukestad is plus 340. That might be one to take on. It's a low risk bet you could probably make, and you can make a decent amount of change back.
Yeah, I mean Bukestad doesn't score at the same level as a Krause or a Keller or even a Schmaltz lately, but he does generate some decent offense, and I imagine he's going to get maybe a favorable matchup or two.
Absolutely, and let's put it this way: if you just bet $10 on it, that's $34. You win.
That's a good return.
It is a good return. I'm not gonna say guarantee we take that, but not a bad pick if you're willing to get a little risky.
Yeah, definitely a riskier pick, but I don't know. I usually feel confident that Bukestad is going to have a good game. Not always that he's going to have a goal. He usually surprises me, but usually a good game.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to do on tonight's game before we close things off?
Uh, I I am very excited to see this one. I think the one game back before heading on the road again always makes for an interesting situation. Like I said, we got a tired Tampa Bay team, a rested Coyotes who can go all out. That's a recipe for a fun matchup.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Instagram at LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. And personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have, we might answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.